I want to talk about 3 apps that helped me lose 50 pounds in a little over a year and why I think that these apps can help you too. In the past, the only method of counting calories, weighing food, exercising enough, and overall just trying to maintain a healthy weight was tedious and things had to be written down. I can't lie, this whole technology age has really destroyed what little handwriting skills I used to have. But if erasing my ability to write saves some trees, then so be it, even at the expense of some lithium mining pollution. The point is, we don't really write that much anymore because we have the entire knowledge of the human race in our pockets and we can communicate by simply touching our opposables to some magic glass. And because the gods of Silicon Valley have blessed us with all kinds of apps, including weight maintenance apps, why not try to use these to make our weight loss journey easier? Okay, the first app that I want to talk about is MyNet Diary. And the name is actually pretty self-explanatory. I don't get the MyNet part, but it's basically a diary of everything that you eat every day. And I wanted to go through what I use it for and how this could possibly be beneficial for you. So let's dive right in. Okay, the first thing you'll be greeted with is this lovely little home screen with an apple. Now the apple acts as your calorie total for the day, and that little bar fills up whenever you meet your calorie goals. Pretty simple and pretty easy to use. And if you click on this apple, it takes you to your weekly progress so you can see how your calories are going for each day. Now, I don't pay too much attention to the colors because the colors are pretty inaccurate. It doesn't do a good job of tracking your calories that you expend each day, and so I try to ignore the colors even though it kind of makes me mad. I guess that's the one downside of using this app. But anyways, if we go back to the home screen, you can see on the far right side you're greeted with breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Now, I spend a lot of time in the snacks category, not today because I just woke up and ate breakfast. But you also are greeted with your exercise and water on the left. Now, I don't do anything with the numbers on the left. I only focus on the numbers on the right. So we'll look at yesterday. So breakfast, I had that. This is a recipe that I created. Well, technically my girlfriend created. She's better at cooking than me. But I make this every morning. And all it is protein powder, baking powder, and oats all ground up. Anyways, that's beside the point. So these are my typical foods that I eat at this time of the day, and it does do a pretty good job of picking out what you eat at what time of the day, so it does learn, and if that freaks you out, then don't download it, but it actually is really helpful. And so you can type in the name of just anything. Let's go to Burger King, for example. Oh, that's not what I meant to type. Burger King. Okay, see, and you have a Whopper with no cheese, put it in there. Definitely not going to be super accurate. It's going to be kind of close, so just keep that in mind, but it is really helpful in trying to get a bigger picture idea of what you're eating every day. And if you scroll down, one thing that's really important to me is my sodium intake, and luckily this app helps me track that, and I can keep that under check every day. The reason that's important to me is because when I first started my diet, I didn't realize that most of the low carb foods that you eat are really high in sodium, and that's a bad thing because I was eating around 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams a day. That's a little bit more than the American Heart Association recommends. The next thing you'll see down here is current weight. And it does do a good job of keeping up to date with this, but I don't really use the app for that. Every now and then when I'm feeling froggy, I'll tap it in. The reason I don't use it personally is because if you want a weight history of longer than a month at a time, then you have to go through the paywall, and that's not what I want to do. I want to use all the free apps that I can because I'm cheap. And that's pretty much all I use this app for, is just keeping track of food and macros. Oh yeah, I forgot to point out, the macros are down below the apple. Cool. Now that we've covered what app I use to track my calorie intake, let's show you which one I use to calculate my calorie burn. And what we're going to do is go right into here. And what you can see, I'm using the Fitbit app. Yay, I slept pretty good last night. Let's go. Now, what do I use this for? If you've watched my last video, you know that I try to get 10,000 steps a day. And this is what you're greeted with up here on the left side of the Fitbit app. Now, I have Fitbit Premium, and I think you get 6 months free with each purchase of a Fitbit device, and I think that's why I still have it, although it's been more than 6 months and they haven't charged me. I don't really know what's going on. If you see Fitbit on the street, don't tell them that I told you that. And this step count is actually pretty accurate, I'd say, because I've definitely counted myself, and it gets within 1 or 2 steps out of 100 every single time. And so I think you can kind of trust this. Now, if you're walking uphill or something like that, it doesn't calculate how hard that actually was, but that is where the heart rate monitor comes into play. So this app also tracks your resting heart rate and your heart rate throughout the day in order to give you a more accurate calorie burn estimate. But back to the top 3 numbers. And the other one that I care about is the calorie burn. This has actually been shown to be within 200 to 300 as far as accuracy goes at predicting weight gain. And as you can see in my first video up here in the top left, Now you can look at this on a week-to-week basis, a month-to-month basis, or an entire year's basis, and it's pretty cool. Now another feature this app has is stress management. I don't really use it because I know I'm stressed. It also tracks your sleep, and I really enjoy looking at this because it helps to know that I'm actually feeling sluggish because I had a bad night's sleep. And it's not something you should base your life around, but it is important to know, especially if you're trying to build muscle, because when you're building muscle, you really need 7 to 8 hours every single night, because that's when your body repairs itself. And that's one of those non-negotiable things that you really need for building muscle, which is my goal. It also gives you a readiness score, and I don't really pay too much attention to that because it goes based on how many zone minutes you had. And sometimes you may not have a lot of zone minutes, but maybe you walked 30,000 steps the previous day. I would say that you probably shouldn't do what it says, is go over 78 zone minutes. It has 3 different zones, 4 technically, but it goes from fat burn at your next highest above your resting, and then it goes to cardio, and then it goes to peak. So in the fat burn zone, you get 1 zone minute per minute that you're in that zone. But if you're in cardio or peak, you get 2 minutes for every minute that you're in that zone, because it's putting your body through a lot of strain, and it's actually beneficial to be in the cardio zone for a little while, but it's not really that beneficial for peak unless you're actually just trying to get that last little bit of performance out of your body. It's not important for most of us, and to have good cardio health, you don't really need to be in that zone. I like to try to keep my training in the 155 to 160 heart rate for my age. I'm 28, so my max heart rate is around 192. All you do is subtract 28 from 220. It's not completely accurate, but that's the easiest and fastest way to kind of check your maximum heart rate. And if you keep going down a little bit more, you have health metrics. And health metrics are pretty cool. It gives you your breathing rate, your heart rate variability, skin temperature, oxygen saturation, resting heart rate, all the above. And you can look at the trend lines over time, and it's pretty useful. I don't really pay too much attention to it, to be honest, except for the resting heart rate, because I'm trying to get that lower, because the lower that is, the better your cardio is if you are training. Now, if it's just too low because of your genetics, then that could be a different story. But for me, I'm trying to get it as low as possible. And before this Christmas, it was around 50. I'm not going to scroll through all that. And then you can use this to also track your weight gain or weight loss over time. And mine's integrated with my VSync app, which is my scale. So that's pretty cool. You can integrate it with your scale, and it keeps track of all that stuff without you having to input anything. I don't track my water. I drink way too much water as it is. But that's pretty much everything that I use the Fitbit app for. So I use my Net Diary to keep track of my calorie intake, and I use Fitbit to keep track of my calorie outtake. And what that helps me do is help me maintain a energy balance type deal where I try to maintain my weight. Now you can do this without having either of those apps and just track your weight over time. If you're gaining, you can subtract some calories, or if you're losing, then you could add some calories, just if you want to maintain a healthy weight. But for me, I like to know the numbers, and it helps me to keep track of it better. So you can use that however you will. Now, the third app that I want to look at is the app that I use to help me keep track of my workouts, because that's really important. No, I don't use any of the apps that are typically thought of when you open in the app store and go to a workout. I don't really like them. They seem kind of bloated and clunky. And for me, I just need the basics. I really just need a spreadsheet and some numbers and some exercises written down. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, and that is Google Sheets. Now, Google Sheets is not something that people normally think of when they think of a workout tracking app. But you can make your own spreadsheets in here in the app, and the spreadsheets are really customizable to the workout plan that you want to do. And for me, I like to keep notes, and I like to keep some variability where I can sub in extra stuff without having to create a new row. So I'll write out in the notes, I sub Bulgarian here instead of lunges this day. So just things like that. And I play with the colors to identify different rep schemes. For the most part, this is a pretty good app. It's simple, and yeah. But for me, I can just go to week 6, let's say. I can hit duplicate, and then I'm left with a copy of week 6, and all I have to do is rename it. And I have week 7, and all of my previous week's progress is saved, and I kind of get an idea of where to start my next workout at as far as weights and reps go. And so yeah, I think that Google Sheets is the best workout tracking app that there is, and that's what I'm going to continue to use. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys, because I had a ton of fun making it, and I really enjoyed talking about my fitness journey, and I'm happy that I can bring you along with it. Yeah, those 3 apps are the ones that helped me lose 50 pounds, and I hope that they can help you too. And who knows, maybe you learned something. Have a good day, guys.